We are out here in the city of Paris at the Orange Empire Railway Museum, and I'm here with Norm.
Good
How you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Thanks for having us out here. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, where exactly we're at here in the city of Paris.
Well, we're out in what I would consider the southern part of Paris, and there are signs happily through Paris showing how to get out here. We're a totally volunteer operation.
Wow.
The people that are operating the equipment are all volunteers, and they're all ready to serve you.
Now, this is cool because I know you've been around for quite some time, because I just asked my father-in-law, who's joining us today, hey, have you ever been here before? He said, yeah, 30 years ago.
Right.
How long have you been here?
We've been here since 1956.
Wow.
And this operation was started by 14 kids. And when I say kids, I mean teenagers who were frustrated at the thought of streetcars being dumped in Santa Monica Bay. So they begged, borrowed, and stole some cars, came out here and bought 10 acres of a potato field. We're now well over 100 acres.
Now, you say streetcars, and my first thought was like automobiles, but you're
No.
talking about...
I'm talking about trolleys.
Trolleys.
Yes, trolley cars. Or if you're, from the continent, they're trams.
Trams, okay. So how many of these, what do you have here today?
We have, let's start with this. We are the largest railway museum west of the Mississippi River. We are the third largest railway museum in the United States.
Wow.
So we have well over 250 pieces of equipment ranging from box cars all the way to luxury coaches.
Wow.
So, anything you want to see that's railroad, it's here.
Norm, when we were pulling up, I heard the engine going, I heard, the horn honking,
Yes.
and this thing moved when we were pulling up.
Absolutely.
Is that normally what happens?
On weekends, we always have a train running, and we always have streetcars or trolley cars running on the weekends.
Wow.
So to get into the place is free. To ride the equipment, that has a nominal price.
Okay. So you said you were going to take me up in here and take a look around.
This engine is of real historic value. This engine was built in 1942. It was part of the Lend-Lease program, and the military took it to Iran, and it ran from the coast of Iran to the Russian border, hauling freight to defeat the Axis during the Second World War. And when the war was over, they brought the engine back, and it stayed with the Department of Transportation and then ended up with us. We also have a sister engine back in one of our barns that looks like it. If you notice the conformation of the roof of the engine, that was so that it could get through the tunnels in Iran.
So it's rounded here?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now we could go down here.
Sure. I do have to give proper credit. We get solicited by a lot of people to go out and visit places. Even a lot of my family members ask me to go out and visit places. But my Uncle Ray said, Joel, you've done so many spots in the Inland Empire, but you have not been out to the Orange Empire Railroad Museum. And here we are. Thanks, Uncle Ray, for persisting on us coming out here, because this is really cool.
And you're sitting in the engineer's seat.
I am sitting in the engineer's seat. Now, okay, I'm looking around. You don't know me yet very well, Norm, but buttons and I want to see, it says engine start right here. So if I push that button or pull that button, we're fired up, right?
Good chance. We'll have those diesel engines going.
Now, yeah, lots of buttons, and then there's a phone right here. Is this
That's our radio phone.
Oh, it's a radio, okay. So.
And so if you get on that phone, you can actually, with that phone, talk to Burlington Northern Santa Fe or Union Pacific as well. So,
Don't get on the phone. Now, is this the...
That's,
can I pull it?
Yes.
I'm not wearing a hat. I'm not wearing an engineer hat. All right, here goes, guys. Oh my goodness, that was loud. Oh my goodness. All right, one more time. Ready? Here we go.
We woke everybody up.
Wow.
This is a somewhat unique diesel in that it has the hood forward,
Okay.
as opposed to the hood in the back, as you see on Class 1 railroads today.
Okay. Is this one of those ones where you're having to shovel coal in?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Absolutely not. This you have to pay to have a truck come out and load it with diesel fuel.
Diesel fuel?
Yes.
How many miles a gallon do we get here? Is it saying anything?
No, but I can assure you not very much.
Not very much, huh?
Yeah.
So we'll let a proper engineer come up here and operate it
Yeah.
for us here in a bit. So, wow, this is pretty cool. And so can we go back in the car for that?
Sure.
Wow.
This car was built in 1915. The other car we'll go into was built in 1925, I believe.
Norm, the seats are very cushiony.
Well, they were comfortable for their time. I mean, if you look at the air conditioning in the car.
Air conditioning.
Right, the open windows.
Gotcha.
This car, as I said earlier, was built in 1915. It was for the San Diego, Arizona Eastern Railroad that runs along the border from San Diego to Yuma. And it went in and out of Mexico. So it's been around a while.
About 100 years you talked about.
Close to it. Close to it.
Wow. This is like a barber shop here, or what?
No, this is where the railroad employees sat, because we had Railway Express Agency, plus we had United States Post Office, we had only
Post office.
post office, and this is where the mail would go and would be sorted.
Wow.
And then back here held the baggage and the freight.
The bag. Oh, and if you needed to use the restroom,
right,
you just did it.
Right. And
Right.
I would remind you that in these days, or in the days when these cars were operating, it was men only that would work in these cars. It was not considered proper for ladies to be doing work like this.
Yeah!
This streetcar was built in 1906, and as I like to tell people, this car was running in downtown Los Angeles when San Francisco was burning during the earthquake and fire. It's fully restored. When you look at the color, you're looking at exactly the color it was delivered to the Los Angeles Railways in. The interior of the car has all advertisements that are consistent with that era. Let's go in this 1906 car.
Wow. Did
Or
you
it's-
see
it's-
that? Wow. So here's all the advertisement you were talking
Right.
about here. Wow. See what we have here? Oh my goodness.
So,
This is so cool. And I'm just looking at the benches too.
right. And one of the neat things about the benches is when it got to the end of the line, it didn't have to turn around. You would just
Oh my goodness, that is so cool.
move the seats. And as I ask people all the time, which is the front of this car? And you look and you can operate the car from either direction. These cars were built in 1937. These are known as PCC cars. And the first PCC car in Los Angeles was christened by Shirley Temple, and she was the first operator on that car, and the then mayor of Los Angeles was the first passenger on the car.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So these go back, and the reason they're known as PCC cars is that the federal government got together with all the major municipalities and established a standard for cars. And this is the standard that you could see throughout the United States and later on the world.
Okay.
The reason I say the world is because when we get rid of our cars out of the Los Angeles area, some went to Buenos Aires, some went to Cairo, and around the world. This is the car that after its years of service with LA Railways, the studios bought, and this car was used to make the Laurel and Hardy movies and the Keystone Cops.
So Norm, you're saying that this is the car that was in Singing in the Rain?
That's correct. This is known as a Bernie car. They operated in the Pasadena area, and they operated in Redlands as well. Being that this car was built in the early 1900s, the St. Louis Car Company that built it, their advertisement was probably not politically correct today.
The St. Louis safety car is so simple, so safe, that even a woman can operate it. That would fly wonderfully these days.
Yes, it would.
You know, it just would go over wonderfully. And not only can they operate it, but does operate it. Wow.
It's amazing.
This is dated April 10th, 1920. And what is this right here? This looks
Now,
pretty
this
neat, too.
car looks like a cable car,
Yeah.
but it is in fact a street car. And this car was used in, of all places, Bakersfield.
Oh, what about this blue and yellow one right here? That my son's checking out. What do you see in Dawson? What do you have over here, dude?
This yes,
Is he
you're
allowed to
allowed
go
to
in
go
there?
in there.
All
This
right.
is a San Francisco Muni car.
Norm, we've been in just 2 buildings. How many did you say there were?
7
7 buildings.
buildings,
Plus what's outside.
plus what's outside.
Wow. I mean, even in the buildings we've been into, there are so many cars we haven't even been in.
Correct.
This is overwhelming.
It is.
Thank you so much for
You're
your
welcome.
time. I appreciate it. And if you want to know more information about this amazing place, go to inlandempireexplorer.com. But obviously a one-of-a-kind, the Orange Empire Railway Museum. I've got to, come on, I at least need to take a train somewhere.